Brian, talk us through your emotions and your thoughts on a very famous win for Bradford over Castleford this afternoon.
There's an element of euphoria in the change room and on the terraces, and that's understandable. It's a big win for the club over a number of years, and to beat a Super League club, I want to join in that kind of energy and euphoria and take my coach's hat off, if you like. It was a fantastic effort, and we got really nervous in the second half, predominantly for some of the things that we did that we weren't doing. But they were a Super League team, they were always going to come back. They probably had a flea in their ear at half time and became a bit more direct. But my overriding feeling on everything is I'm really pleased with the Bradford fans and the team particularly, because they had to work really hard. They had to dig themselves out of a couple of holes and stay in the game towards the back end.
You said previously in the last round when James Donaldson scored after 90 seconds, he scored after 5 minutes today, that it's always good to score early, but it certainly from that point looked like you were building, that momentum was firmly with Bradford.
I thought we were really good in the first half. We stuck to what we practiced through the week. Always good starts are important. Starts to sets, starts to games. It should really be a focus, and it was for us. But we went toe for toe with them, and I thought we looked strong. We looked incisive as well as decisive. And we didn't quite continue in the second half, but I don't want to take anything away from our players. You know, they had to dig in on the other side of the fence there and go through a heck of a lot of adversity. And they showed their credentials there as well. They like each other, and it's a good team, but it's only the first step in a long journey. But I genuinely don't want to take away any of the excitement that's been created by, which was an occasion today. Anybody stood on the terraces today or in this ground or in this stand were really enjoyed it and had the nervous moments and all the things that rugby league brings for you. And we came out the right side of that result. It could have been a whole lot different feeling had we not.
How pleased are you with that mindset and that consistency in that first half? I think I only had Bradford down as making one error, which is a 90+ completion rate.
Yeah, it helps. It helps you beat good teams, and Castleford are a step above us. They're in the Super League, a full-time outfit as well. So we had to work hard, and probably the opposite of that is when you don't do those things, the game becomes tougher. And we experienced that in the second half. I thought Castleford had a real dig and showed their credentials as well, and we had a couple of try line saves as well, which is pleasing, the other side and the pleasing side of that too. I think overall in the game we deserved to win it. But gosh, it was nervous towards the back end.
How important was that Tom Holmes try? There's 30 seconds left at first half. Dejan Hassett puts the grubber kick in. It could have been a Castleford try, but Tom picks it up and goes about 100 metres.
Well, he's got some toes, Tom, and he showed his toe and got to the other end, which is real pleasing for us. But we gifted them one back in the second half. You know, we threw one to the floor and they went the distance. So even Stevens on that one. I don't want to take anything away from what we've done. You know, I'm a goose sometimes for underplaying what we've done and what we haven't done. We've been a Super League team and we should rejoice in that. But the muck and bullet starts next week, and so I'm sure London are loading their gun, ready for coming up here and trying to embarrass us.
That second half, Brian, it's clear to anyone who was here, there's room for improvement.
I agree. Great coaching analogy there. I agree. Yeah, we've got room for improvement. Yeah. Every team has, and that will go on whilst ever I'm here. Every week, you're looking for week in, week out improvements for both the individual and the team, and performances. And I think that's got to be our standard. You know, the first half was a very good standard. You know, we'd have competed with anybody with the things that we were doing. I thought, without naming individuals, I thought there were a lot of individuals in our team that looked like Super League players, if that's the right expression.
I know we've touched on this time and time again, Brian, but when you pen Castleford back and then they try and pen you back, and you're making 40, 50, 60 metres using your Ockenbars, your Blakes and your Tafuas, you know, Danny Maguire's kind of reference that shape, that size, you know, ultimately, you know, laying that path for you to get in them positions to score.
Yeah, I don't disagree with him, man. You know, they picked and they became available, and sometimes you've got to see in players the positives of what they can do and not particularly what they've not been doing. And I think the recruitment side of this club over the last 18 months, 2 years, you know, with the people involved in that have been pretty good.
Joe Keys didn't come on after half time.
Small injury. not serious. And we're hoping to be fit for next week.
In terms of obviously then putting Lily and Meadows in the halves, what were your thoughts on that one?
Well, the whole second half was a bit disjointed because of either the errors that were made or the ill discipline. We're great. Our discipline's been great this year, but taking up the standard, it gets your juice going, so it's a bit harder. You got to work a bit harder, and we got caught a couple of times there. We opened the door for Castleford to come back, is the honest truth, and we have to learn the lesson from that. Behind the scenes, we'll enjoy the energy that this game has created for the club tonight. It's important that we recognise what's going to give us success week in, week out.
I asked Danny this question, but what were your emotions when Texoy goes in at the corner with 90 seconds left and it comes down to that conversion?
I was disappointed for the players because I thought it was going to go to extra time. I thought he would have kicked the goal. It didn't. That's rugby league again. But we would have got ready for extra time and practiced a little bit of that golden point. That becomes about territory. What we didn't do too well was look after the ball to get territory in the second half. So the speech at half time would have revolved around that. We were really focused on going into, realistically going into extra time. But when he missed the goal, I'm not thankful. I'm not death wishing him in any way, shape or form, but he missed the goal. We missed a couple of goals early on.
Any other injury concerns, or is it just Joe Keys that has a question there?
Well, the bumps and the bruises will be a bit bigger on Monday because of the nature of the opposition, but nobody serious.
This win, Brian, it's clearly going to raise that bar higher in rugby league circles, maybe not internally, but certainly a lot of people, there was already a lot of focus and spotlight on Bradford. That's going to intensify now.
Do we get any points for that, by the way? IMG going to ring us up and say you can have 1 point for winning that. You got over the line by points, so we'll give you another point. I don't know. I don't want to know about that. I want to ask our fans to look at if they haven't been coming for a while, to come and have a look at what we've got. I think we've got a good team. We've got a connected team. I think they'd enjoy we played some good football in the first half. And I'd like to continue that and improve the team moving forward. And I think the best thing about that is the players want to improve.
It was the first starting 17 for the first time in 16 months, Brian. How hard or difficult was the decisions by you and Lee Greenwood to potentially change this side from what you saw against Doncaster? Because I know you said you thrive on these difficult choices, difficult decisions, especially with Guy Armitage.
I don't know if thrive's the right word. You have to give it the right amount of attention, and we've given it the right amount of attention. And the 17 that went against Doncaster, they deserved another opportunity as well. We'll pick up injuries as it moves on. We've got some good players that want to come into the team. We've spoken to them. They understand the dynamics of what we're doing. We'll have a lot of courage in picking our teams because we'll need it, because we've got some good players to play to show what they've got. And so that's not too much of a concern for me, because I think they'll all get an opportunity in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But people have staked a claim. I trust the players, and I think they trust us. Me and Greeny try and do the right job, and pay plaudits to Lee again this week. We've picked the right strings and the right balls and played the right stuff, other than the second half when I think Paul Greeny was going to have an epileptic fit, so we had to get a bit calmer. But it was good. It was a brilliant day at the office. I don't want to take away any of the shine from what we've achieved, because I think at this moment in time, I think Hunslet are still going well, but we're the only championship team that's knocked off the Super League team. What
does the next week look like, Brian? Obviously there's a lot of celebration and elation after a famous cup shock against Super League opposition, but it's the bread and butter that starts with London and Mike Eccles coming in on Sunday.
And Mike always produces good teams, fit teams, so I didn't mention the fact there's a lot of euphoria and a lot of celebrating. It's a game. So a couple of beers tonight, they'll do well. They're back in roll call tomorrow afternoon, and get out their bumps and bruises and show some pictures of what we think we did right and what we thought we did wrong, which I'll be in charge of that, and showing them the way forward, how we've got to give ourselves not easier games, because it was never going to be an easier game, but I think the first half's an element of blueprint where we could have done some things a little bit better of where we should be for the second half.
Brian, you told me at time when I spoke to you in the week that the Challenge Cup needs to take advantage of the competition. It's a great product, and you said there's some good games across the board. For people who have seen that today here, BBC, wherever, a brilliant game between two sides that went right to the wire. How good can that be, not just for Bulls, but for rugby league as well, for people who have seen what happened today?
Yeah, it was a great fixture. The matchup, that's the reason BBC picked it, because the matchup chose itself, didn't it? People would have thought about York and Hull KR, and I would certainly have been looking at Hunslet today in what they're doing against Huddersfield, because of the stop-starts of the season Huddersfield have, really. So I'm a big fan of the Challenge Cup. I grew up with the Challenge Cup. I think it's an unbelievable trophy, and the history around our game was predominantly, until '97, was predominantly that trophy. And so I think we should revere it. I think we should put it in the best slots we possibly can, because even if you're a Super League team, there's only 2 trophies you can win. So the Super League, and for us there's the 1895 Cup, which is like a watered down version of the Challenge Cup. But the Challenge Cup is an unbelievably awesome competition, wrapped in unbelievable memories from icons of our game, genuine icons of our game. And so I think it deserves proper slots, and somebody at the Rugby League will be looking at the fixture programmes and the format of the Super League, need to put it in its right place.
And just to final on that first half, Mick touched on it quite a bit, but obviously, were you surprised at how dominant you were, or did you know that just what this team is capable of in that first 40? Because Castleford struggled to live with you in that first 40 minutes.
No, I wasn't surprised with what we dished up. We looked incisive, we looked very, very positive. Clearly we got lessons to learn about the second half, but we were playing a full-time outfit, so they weren't going to go away. An element of fatigue or mindset, really. Sometimes your mindset can drift, saying we're in a certain position that you're not in. So I think it's a lesson for how we go about our business when we're in big games.
And with the second half, Brian, do you think some of that was down to nerves? It was or do you think it was, come on, we just stopped doing the things we know we're good at, or was it like, oh god, this is Castleford are a good team and they're really coming out of it?
All three.
Yeah.
Castleford were always going to have a dig in the second half. A little bit of mindset as to what we'd experienced and what we hadn't experienced. Yeah, and so the challenges are there for us to improve. It's the start of the year, and so whilst we're carried away in this moment in time and enjoying the moment, it genuinely is a moment we have to get back to business tomorrow.
And just a final for me, Brian, you don't like to pitch individuals too much, but obviously James got the opening try, and I thought when he came back on, just felt like an instant serenity around the game, more than there was before. Just how big an impact does he have on this game? It feels like the players look around and I feel like they're in safe hands almost with James.
Well, I thought we could have put him on a little bit earlier in the second half. It's probably, if I'm criticising ourselves, we'll have a look at things and think maybe he should have been back on earlier. But we've been measuring what he's been doing, and he's been measuring what he's been doing, and it will grow and grow into all of the games. It did bring back an element of stability, but that's the reason why you scout him and you spend so much time in his front room having coffee, because you want him to be with you and not with anybody else.
Great stuff, Brian, thank you.
Brian, just on your return being here, I know that the old days of Bull Lady days are long gone, but days like that, it must be a justify you coming back and having those moments and seeing those scenes in the stands, the emotion and all that.
Yeah, on the club point of view, we've got to keep working hard and getting more and more of the people that were here back here, because we are on an upward trajectory. I've enjoyed it. I've got fantastic coaches. So Willie Greenwood's a fantastic coach. He has a lot of influence on how we play and what we do and what we don't do. He's senior and Chris Hoff, Nick, the conditioners. So we've got a tight group that trusts each other and enjoy each other's company. One of the reasons I stepped out of the woodwork, if you like, is because I want the club to be back on an even keel. And genuinely, I've said it in all the interviews last week, I'd love them to be in Super League, but I've got this dichotomy in my head saying, well, we've got to earn it on the field. And the club behind the scenes are committing to earning it with IMG as well. So I think it's anybody that's been here today will say it had a feel. There was a pulse, and a bigger pulse than there's been for a while. And we just got to encourage the people of Bradford to come and support us as well, which they are doing and coming back and bang the gong there. But I think anybody that came to today's occasion, or indeed watched it on BBC television, will think, yeah, the Bulls are in the mix.
I'm going to say, I know IMG is not your responsibility, barring the on-field aspect of it, but there is everyone knows the fandom and everything, that the fan base can be so. It could be the difference coming between getting and getting not. And I suppose today's like today with being on Beam and everything like that. It could be the shot in the arm to maybe pull a few of them back. You can't. Well, I think what I'm trying to get, you can't really downplay how important and how big an opportunity this could be for the club today.
Well, two things. I agree with you. You know, anybody being here today, being stood in there, would have enjoyed themselves. Even though it was freezing and a bit dink and drizzly, would have enjoyed themselves. And there's a small message there saying people like to see occasions with fans that are making a noise. But secondly, you know, on the point of wanting to earn it, I want the football team to be watched as well, and that's what's happening. I think, you know, we've got some attractive players. We've got some players with unique selling points and their own difference, who are allowed to be characters and individuals. But the team aspect of it is massively important, and I've nothing more like than seeing 28,000 here that I've experienced. And that's maybe a way off at the moment, but small steps. Everybody behind the scenes who works hard here have taken those steps, taken advice, ticked the boxes, and as much as the box ticking, I want the performance to be good as well. And I think we took a step towards convincing people there today as well.
Just lastly from Jaden Ockenbaugh,
Yeah.
watched podcast that he did with Ronan Michael this week, and he spoke about being happy. He looks like a different player to the one that we saw at the start of his time at Hull. Just how much time have you put into making him happy and making him settled? I know you've changed position as well, but just how much time has gone into him and how much credit does he deserve for what he's doing?
I like all the players, and I'd like to think they can speak to me about anything, let alone football. If you don't have a happy group, any workplace is a lesser place without people that have a smile on their face. I think this team are getting to know when to put the foot on the accelerator, so it's about work, it's about doing things good. But enjoying your football is probably the number one criteria. It's hard otherwise, isn't it? That's life. So I think he enjoys the fans, he enjoys the adulation. He's really coachable as well. So all these people are really coachable, which means you can offer something up to them and say, we'd like you to do this and do that. It makes a big difference to our team. But I could go through the whole 17 today about what they've offered and what they haven't offered, and I think in the main most of them say, unless I'm on an angry spat or Greeny's on an angry spat, they're enjoying their time here.